Alyssa West.
And I'm Emily Chambers.
We are siblings, and I live in California, and Emily lives in Texas. But we grew up watching so many fun shows together, such as Friends and The Office and Gilmore Girls, which is what we are starting with. And we're going to break it down and talk about all the cool, fun stuff.
Share our sometimes vastly different opinions, argue about who's better, Dean or Jess. Jess.
Well, I like though that like Logan is not even in our vocabulary.
Yeah,
of like
I do love Logan. Actually, I have a soft spot.
That's fair. But yeah, talk about our differing opinions and also just break down the episodes. I feel like we need to preface this by saying there will be many, 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 many spoilers. Right off the bat, we should say that.
So if you haven't finished the show, go do that and then come back.
Yeah, this is not
we will ruin it for you.
Yeah, this is definitely not like a listen to this podcast as you watch the show, because we're going to spoil everything.
You know, not a watch along kind of podcast. I think once you've seen a show roughly 8,000 times, it becomes hard to talk about it episode by episode without, foreshadowing things in the future. So,
yeah, totally. Yeah, just to do a little breakdown. We're not professionals on the show, but we have seen it many times, and it brought us closer together. All right, you ready?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, do we want to do our what's our background with the show?
Yeah. Do that.
Well, I started watching Gilmore Girls in high school because my aunt watched it, and I really related to the Rory storyline, which is nuts because I really don't care storyline now. And then I didn't watch it for several years. I rewatched it as an adult after I had a kid and really related to the Lorelai storyline. And so it's like a brand new show for me because I cared about a different half of the show. And since then, I've probably, like I said, seen it about 8,000 times. It's my comfort show.
I started watching it many years later. I remember actually, like, so specifically, I texted you and I was like, do you like the show Gossip Girl? And you were like, oh, I've never seen it. And I was like, sorry, I mean Gilmore Girls. And you were like, yes, I'm watching it literally right now.
That sounds right.
Then I watched it. I want to say I think it was during the pandemic that
probably
I started watching it. Yeah. And yeah, I kind of initially started off, I mean, I don't have any kids, but I started off relating more to the Lorelai storyline. I don't know. Rory, I mean, let's just be transparent. I am not a Rory lover. I tend to lean on the side of what is Rory doing.
Yeah, this is not a Rory fan podcast either.
Oh no. So if you love Rory, now might be the time to click away.
Or keep listening. You can hate listen to us, and you can email us at so there's this episode pod@gmail.com and let us know how much you hate us. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, give us all your opinion. Let us know how ugly we are. So yeah, are you?
By the way, unpodcast related for a second, I meant to text you this the other day, but your hair looks phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I did my hair myself recently. If you are not watching this and you don't know what we look like, my hair is pink and blue. And yeah, I was so afraid that I was gonna look like a skunk. But I actually like how it turns out.
It turned out perfect. Like the blue, barely peeking out through different pieces. It's perfect. I can't believe you did that yourself.
There's more in the back, but yeah, I was very nervous about it. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's break down episode first one. Okay. So this is the pilot. A little synopsis. After Rory is accepted into the prestigious Chilton on her way to her lifelong dream of Harvard, Lorelai is forced to go to her wealthy parents for financial assistance. And that's the synopsis.
I feel like we should preface this also with, just so you don't think I'm being incredibly rude. The format of this podcast is going to be Alyssa's going to break down and give us kind of a play-by-play, and I will be interrupting as I see fit to give my thoughts and
No, you
opinions.
are being incredibly rude.
and
I'm doing all the work. No, I'm just kidding.
we and she'll be interrupting herself often as well, I believe.
So, okay, so I should say, there are going to be times where I stop and let you know because I live in Hollywood. For those of you that don't know, and there's places
And she's
that, like,
really, really proud of that fact.
I'm really humble about it. I never talk about it. It's actually kind of a secret. No, but anyway, there's places that sell like scripts and stuff, and I actually just so happened to find the script for the pilot episode of the show. I took it as a sign from the universe. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're meant to do this podcast." So
We're doing the
anyway,
right thing.
we're doing the right thing. So we open to Lorelai walking to Luke's with "There She Goes" in the background. In the script, it describes her as a woman in a warm coat carrying the world's largest purse.
Okay.
Which is definitely
Me every day.
remember that when you go back and watch it, because I do feel like it like knowing that, it does feel like a very comically large purse. Let's see. Yeah, so yeah, I also wrote a little note here. I was like, I know I'm a sucker for 90s music, but this show's music is so good.
Oh, so good.
So good. Yeah. It adds a lot to it. Yeah, it's just like the perfect, like that's like the perfect song. So then
I literally have a oh, you're good. I have a Gilmore Girls playlist on Spotify that I listen to all the time. It's just the soundtrack of Gilmore Girls.
amazing. Yeah, literally best soundtrack ever. So yeah, I wrote down before I knew that, because we like assigned jobs to each other, but before I knew that you were going to be the one doing the fact, I wrote down some facts. And the first one is that Luke was originally a woman named Daisy, but the higher ups wanted a male character. Can you imagine a world without Luke and Lorelai?
I feel like a Gilmore Girls without Luke would not have gone.
It wouldn't have done as well.
Their
No, I
chemistry
agree.
was half the show.
Yeah. What's funny though is I literally saw a TikTok today where a guy was like, I just started watching Gilmore Girls. I'm 3 episodes in. When are Luke and Lorelai gonna give me something? And I was like, well, I really thought it was a woman named Daisy for the writing of the first couple episodes. So I mean,
True. I don't know. I thought they had chemistry right away.
I totally thought they did. Yeah.
I disagree with that comment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think his was more like, where's the action? But like,
well, I got bad news for him. They got a long
way to go. Yeah, that's part of the charm of the show.
Part of the frustration.
Yeah, exactly. So she immediately just skips to please, please, please. And he says, how many have you had today? She says, none. And then he says, plus, and she says, 5, but yours is better. I love the implication that they have this conversation every day. Like,
yes. Oh, yeah.
Like he already knows. She's like, please.
And he's so tired. He's so tired of her shit already.
Yeah. Fully so done.
Oh, I did want to say too, Luke's diner changes so much from the pilot. Like I know they're shot in different places, but I like Luke's from the pilot. When you walk in, like I go there. When you walk in, and look
in your
to
mind's
the right.
eye.
Yeah, so usually and throughout the rest of the season, that back wall is all windows and you see Stars Hollow out there. But in the pilot, that back wall is all shelves full of like hardware merchandise. So it's like he never took the shelves down. Like he didn't change anything from his dad's store. I like that detail. So
all the little details. Totally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So he says, you have a problem. And she says, yes, I do. And he hands her the coffee. She walks over to her seat as a guy comes up to her and goes, you make that look really good. Weird pickup line.
The cringiest pickup line of all time. I feel like my response to that would just be like awkward eye contact until he walked away. Like, how do you even respond to that?
I would just be like, yeah. She says it's the best coffee in town, and he says he'll have to get a cup. and then explains that he's just passing through on his way to Hartford, informing us that Stars Hollow is near Hartford.
Now we have a
Stars
setting.
Hollow is a made-up place, but it's not actually. It's in the Warner Brothers lot, and I've been there.
Oh, yes, I was going to say, based on a real city that I believe Amy Sherman Palladino visited in Connecticut. We looked it up. I believe it's Washington, Connecticut. And I would
something
love
like that.
I want to go there in the fall and stay at a B&B and walk around.
It
it
is
looks
the
beautiful.
fall right now.
Well, if only I had the means to hop on a plane and fly to Connecticut on a whim, but I do not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that come out of like writer wise, like they'll go somewhere, they'll do something, and like they'll be like, oh, this is cool. I should base an entire show off of this. Or like,
see, I have that spark in my brain. I just lack the creative follow through.
The drive.
I'll often be places and be like, I can imagine this story
that's
here.
That's not true because we have had many a phone conversation where we're like, we should just start a podcast about Gilmore Girls. So you do have to follow through.
Some behind the scenes information about this podcast. It was born of several hours long conversations about the psychology of the characters of Gilmore Girls and the plot lines we liked and the ones we didn't.
Why we like certain boyfriends better than other boyfriends.
And one day we said we should just record these phone calls and publish them as a podcast. And
people will listen to them. Well, I think the thing is too is like these are the podcasts that we like to listen to. Like a big one for both of us is Office Ladies. I love Office Ladies like so much, so much. And I was like, we could be the Gilmore Girls lady.
The Gilmore ladies. You know the Gilmore Girls? Well, let me introduce you.
You've heard of the Gilmore Girls. Now get ready for the Gilmore ladies.
Oh, man.
Anyway, moving on. So then Lorelai says he's a real Jack Kerouac. Yeah, I feel like the real joy and struggle of this podcast is finding all of Lorelai's many references.
All of everyone's many references.
Yeah. This is the first one, I think.
When we started planning this podcast, the original plan was for me to do a section of the podcast that was a breakdown of all the pop culture references and just like a little sentence like, they said this here and this is blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, I started doing that and I had several pages filled up and I was like, this is its own. There's no way.
Its own thing. Like we would have to, which, might be like, when we get more organized and we have our stuff together better, like maybe that's like bonus content.
We could do or like a second podcast that's just pop culture stuff or whatever.
Totally. But I will say for like half of this podcast, I do have some things written down.
Yeah. I have a lot written down. My notes just aren't as organized as yours.
I mean, I think like the first podcast is going to be like a lot more intense than maybe the other ones are. One thing is we're definitely going to be working out the kinks as we go.
Oh yeah.
But if you're into podcast, yeah, totally. But if you're into this kind of information, I will have you know that Jack Kerouac was an American novelist and poet. Born March 12th, 1922, died October 21st, 1969. And his notable work, some novels were On the Road, and Big Sur. So the traveling guy. Right. And that's what Lorelai was saying.
And now we know.
Joey sits down after Lorelai politely says that she's actually meeting someone. Okay, I've said this before to you, not to the internet, but, Spotify or whoever we're talking to right now. But I feel like Lorelai is way too nice in this first episode.
I feel like we should just address this up front. I feel like the pilot is a different show than we get later. And Lorelai is a different character.
100%.
She's very nice, very patient, and that is not and slightly reserved at times. And that's not the Lorelai.
Okay, but then also slightly not reserved in places where she would be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like they're still figuring her out, obviously.
For sure.
So it's
100%. 100%. Well, much like that, this is the pilot of our episode. So if we're doing bad, that's why.
Please forgive us. And maybe skip to the next one when hopefully we've figured stuff out a little bit more and give us another.
Just like you do with your favorite show.
Yeah, listen. I skip the pilots of a lot of shows. I
Oh
ain't
yeah,
gonna
me too.
lie.
I do. I'm not gonna lie. I do actually like the Gilmore Girls pilot a lot. Like, I think
I
it
do
is
too.
a different show, but yeah, I like it a
But
lot.
it does do a good job of setting the show up. Like when you finish the
Yeah,
pilot, you're like, I get it. I understand
yeah,
all the relationship dynamics. Like I understand what's going
right.
on.
Yeah, totally. Um, okay, so Rory comes in and says it's freezing. Lorelai offers her hot tea or coffee, and she asks for lip gloss. She gives a pretty crazy list of flavors, and Rory asks if she has anything that's not representing a breakfast cereal. Then Rory says RuPaul doesn't need this much makeup, and then explains that her crabbiness comes from losing her Macy Gray CD. So many like these references are like pop
But
culture
yes,
references in like one little thing. We got Macy Gray, we got RuPaul. Yeah,
please
I
tell us
actually,
about RuPaul's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame because you live in Hollywood.
yes, yes, where I live in Hollywood. I live on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. Yeah, it's actually, don't tell
And my
anyone.
address is
And then this is where you can find me. No, so RuPaul's star on the Walk of Fame is Bedazzled. Somebody bedazzled
and
it.
I think that's amazing.
It's really cool. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't seen it in a while, so I don't know if it is still bedazzled because things that are nice on Hollywood Boulevard don't last very
Yeah,
long. I did. Oh my God. I saw Jack Black the other day. Did I
it's
tell you that?
amazing.
Yeah, it
You
was
did.
really cool.
Yeah, it was like a serendipitous timing because we had both
Oh yeah.
just rewatched School of Rock
Yeah.
they're like the 2 days before.
2 days before, yeah. And then I was literally walking, I was like, I think that's Jack Black. And then I literally was standing like this close. If you're not watching this, I just got like real close to the camera.
Uncomfortably close.
I was standing like that close to him. Like, cause we were
And then
crossing
he
on
was
the
like, can you
sidewalk.
please back up, man?
He's like, look, you're not hardcore unless you live hardcore. And I was like, great advice, Jack Black. That's what happened in real life. That's what happened.
That's the real story, and that's all you need to know.
No, I actually didn't say anything to him because I didn't want to be that guy. But I was like, cool that I saw Jack Black. Getting back on topic. Lorelai goes up to get coffee for Rory. Luke says, you're shameless. She attempts to point out that Rory is sitting right there and spots the same guy hitting on Rory that just hit on her. She then catches him giving her the same spiel and corrects his I've never been through here before with, you have to.
We see
And
a
then
little bit of Lorelai here.
I was going to say, I literally put, that's the Lorelai we know and love. It's so funny. Yeah, this clip lives rent free in my brain because it's the one that like plays when you open Netflix.
Oh,
So,
like the preview before
yeah,
when it wants you to
the
click on
preview
it.
clip. Literally, like, my brain just like, I've never been through here before. You have to. Like, so good. Oh my gosh, this is so random. Okay, we should talk about the, like, OG clip that you sent me of, like, who the, like, what was that? The YouTube video that you found? Of, like, the original people?
Oh, like the original pilot?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I allegedly found a copy of the original
Allegedly.
pilot on a super shady website, and I allegedly pirated it and watched it. And
And for
I
legal
got one
purposes, this is a joke. That didn't happen.
for legal purposes. I did not do that. But
And I did not run into Jack Black.
let me just say they made a good choice replacing Dean. Dean gave me real serial killer vibes.
Yeah, the old Dean was
pilot Dean. Yeah,
so bad.
not good. Not a heartthrob. He was
Yeah.
no Jared Padalecki.
Yeah. But not a lot of people are, to be fair. Like, only he could pull off that
Listen,
role.
not everybody can be Jared Padalecki, and I live by that every day.
Those are words that I live by every day. So then Lorelai explains that Rory is her daughter, and Rory says, "Are you my new daddy?" Which is amazing.
Oh, one of my favorite lines of all time.
Of all time, it's so good. He then says that neither of them look their correct age, and Lorelai says, "That's possibly very sweet," which is also one of my favorite lines. That's possibly very sweet.
Possibly very.
Yeah, yeah. We get to scene 2. We open on the Independence Inn with Michelle answering the phone. letting the person on the phone know that they are completely booked. This scene sets up Michelle's character so nicely.
Oh, I love Michelle. And
Yeah.
yes, this scene is a perfect representation of
Yeah. Honestly, like I'm sorry we are completely booked is just like so good. It's my favorite.
it. And let me just say, the Independence Inn hopping
Poppin'.
every day.
This is how you know we're siblings. Poppin',
It's
bro.
on and popping.
It's on and poppin'. Oh my god. Not us quoting other shows while we're
Well, yeah.
anyway, up next, New Girl. So then we have Drella walking in with her harp and telling people to move. Yeah, Drella was originally supposed to be Suki. Although I think that I think that she's too mean to be Suki.
Yeah, it would have been a different character. I actually really liked her performance of Suki in the original pilot that I did not see. And but
Allegedly.
I liked her character. I liked her performance, but
Yeah.
I mean, Melissa McCarthy was Suki.
The girl who plays Drella is a really good actress.
Yeah, she's excellent and she did a great job. I really liked her performance, but it would have been a completely different show. The same way we said it would have been a completely different show without Luke, and it wouldn't have been Gilmore Girls without Suki, without Melissa McCarthy as Suki. Yeah.
Totally. So for some reason, the Drella scene where she's like, nice, huh? Whenever she's playing, and the scene where Rory comes in and Lorelai's on the phone is like switched in the script. Don't know why, but that's the thing.
Okay. Surprising. I say it's surprising because I bought the DVD so that I could have the bonus content to watch for the podcast, and all of the actors make it like explicitly clear there was no improvising, like no messing up. You said your lines, you said them fast, you said it what was written, and that was it. Like that was the show. There was no changing anything.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's very few changes.
Yes.
I'll definitely like point out the one, but I literally like went through the whole script and I like highlighted and I was like, yeah, there's very, very few changes. So
compared to like other shows where, the script can be wildly different from what actually ends up on screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Rory walks in and gives her mom a kiss. She's on the phone. Lorelai gets off the phone and asks what's up with Rory's moo-moo, which is a reference to her sweater. Yeah.
Question. How do we feel about Lorelai making fun of Rory for wearing a big sweater and then later making fun of her for not wanting to hem her skirt super short? Like,
it's weird.
It's weird. She's comfortable in. Like, I get it's a joke and it's all like good fun.
The opposite of slut shaming.
Yeah. I'm like, it's weird to encourage your 15-year-old daughter, like, show more skin. Just let her be comfortable.
Yeah.
Whatever she's
super
comfortable
weird.
in.
Yeah, like I understand like the picking on her, like each other thing. But it also like, and weirdly, it's like the opposite later, but like in this episode, it feels very like one-sided, where I feel like Rory isn't really like laying into Lorelai too much, but then Lorelai's like, what's up with the moo-moo? Why don't you let me pin your skirt? Yeah.
It definitely changes
dating
later.
A boy. Like, yeah.
It definitely, Rory definitely gives it back more later, but yeah, this is not a good representation of what their relationship becomes.
Yeah, totally. So there's a bit here in the script where there's a valet named Derek that tries to get out of work by lying about his aunt's funeral and then hits on Lorelai.
I think that valet comes back. Isn't Derek the name of the valet in a later episode where he scratches a car or something?
It's so brief, but yeah. Like there's like a tiny scene.
Again, surprising though that it was cut and
yeah, super weird.
Also, I want to interject and say for people watching, I'm so sorry that I'm so fidgety, but I'm recording in a closet and there's no vent in here and I am hot and sticking to the chair. So sorry if my fidgeting is bothering you.
Recording in a closet. Our closet like doesn't have a door because we wanted to make more space. So I have like a blanket behind me. And you know what I'm in here with? so many of these guys because my boyfriend collects wrestlers. Actually, my tripod is set inside of the wrestling ring right now.
That works.
That's the situation.
And my husband collects Pokemon cards and memorabilia, so we live amongst the nostalgic memorabilia.
And we're having a nostalgic podcast. So, we're just
Yeah.
living in the past.
There are worse places to be, like the best.
Lorelai asks if Rory could have Michelle look at her French paper since Michelle is so clearly very French.
I don't like this. Why are we
Yeah.
taking advantage of Michelle?
I don't like it
you're
either.
French. Can you review my paper? And she's like,
also,
you take extra care to look out for grammar. Like, he's your tutor?
Like, I feel like Lorelai kind of treats Michelle like how like people here treat like nannies, which is my job. My current job does not do this, but there are people here that will like hire nannies and then be like, oh, can you also like clean and like
also clean my house,
like go grocery shopping for me and like yeah. So
yeah, that's right.
I feel as though it's like that situation, which is like
I think it might be either that or Lorelai really thinks that Michelle is her friend, and Michelle really does not feel the same way. He's like, he does not want to do favors for her, but she doesn't realize that because she thinks they're very good friends. But
yeah, totally. And we're back.
Welcome back.
We had a brief intermission, but we are back and we have looked at Rory's French paper, I guess. That's how that concludes, is that Michelle...
Yeah, we never hear about it again, I guess.
Yeah, it's over after that.
I wouldn't if I was Michelle. Like, what the hell, man?
Yeah. Well, so then actually after they asked Michelle to look over the paper, Rory says that if he does, she will tell all the ladies what a stud he is, which, like, he's gay.
He's so obviously gay.
So Michelle's gay. That's for sure. It's so funny, like, yeah, go, sorry.
I was just gonna say, it's funny that they, like, obviously acknowledge that he's gay in A Year in the Life, which we can talk about another time. But
or
like,
never, because
everyone knows throughout, there's no way people ever thought Michelle was straight. No way.
Right. There's no way. It's almost like, I mean, I don't know. It's sad, obviously, to think of the fact that, like, shows back then had to be like, no, he's straight.
Yeah,
he's so straight. Like, don't cancel our show.
Go above and beyond to make him like the straightest guy.
Yeah.
Nobody loves women more than me.
That's why I always had like such respect. Well, not always. When I found this out as an adult, had such respect for Friends. Like, I know they've had, their faults, whatever. But
there's
like
some questionable.
Right. But Friends fought so hard. If you ever hear the story about whenever like Carol's wedding, like that episode came out, they fought so hard. They literally hired extra people to prepare for the calls that they were going to get when that
the backlash
one came out. Yeah. Which is so crazy.
I will say people like to, I mean, we're off on a big tangent right now, but people like to be like, oh, Friends is such a disrespectful show. And yeah, sometimes it is. But I would say for the time, for what they were doing on TV for its time, it was pretty progressive. Like, most shows weren't even acknowledging those things. So.
Right. Yeah. Like, if Friends came out today, it would be like, all right, what are you doing? But like, Friends came out in the 90s, you know what I mean? So yeah. No, for sure. I'm right there with you. So now Lorelai does a bad French accent, and low-key, I think it's better than Michelle's.
Give him a break. He's Canadian.
Eventually, he agrees. The script calls her voice a Betty Boopish baby talk voice. That's what the script says that Lorelai is doing there. I always thought she was like trying to make fun of Michelle's accent.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah, apparently she's doing a whole other thing. I don't know.
Alrighty. That's very funny.
So then Rory and Lane, Rory's best friend, are casually walking through the town as Lane puts a pink Woodstock shirt over her long sleeve. This sets up the common knowledge through the rest of the show that Lane has a very strict Christian mother, but loves that rock and roll, baby.
The, quote, evil rock music.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a cringy conversation.
It's so funny. Because it's like, it's one of those conversations that's like, it's setting up, a storyline.
Yeah.
I have a love-hate relationship with that. Because no one does that. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right. You don't talk about your life like that. Like, they already know. You don't have to ask
yeah.
question.
I'd be like, I wouldn't be like, oh, are you still like, watching out for your two kids? And
Parents still strict? Still, still, still take care of your dogs?
so funny. Lane explains that she's going on the town hayride later with a boy her parents picked out because he's going to be a doctor.
I have a gripe. One, where's Lane's dad?
Where's Lane's dad? A constant theme throughout the show.
Yeah, I actually kind of hate, not to bring up a year in the life twice, because I'd like to just pretend it doesn't exist, but I actually hate that they show Lane's dad in a year in the life.
Yeah.
Like, they just pretend like he's always been there. It's supposed to be like a nod to the who's Lane's dad joke, but it's not good. You should have just left it a mystery. That'd have been better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're killing the bit at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also have a gripe with Rory acting like it's such an embarrassment that Lane has to go to the town hayride. Like, the queen
Rory
of town
participation
is like, you're going to a town event?
Yeah, I think it's just further like that, like they don't know who these characters are yet. Like Rory,
yes, very much so.
Rory would never be like, ew, a town thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pilot Rory is not the same.
Percent. Rory explains that she's not going to the hayride because cold and boring. And then we see him, Dean, the best Rory boy.
We can debate that at a later time. But I do have two like anecdotal stories to tell about Jared Padalecki. One, I follow his wife Genevieve Padalecki on Instagram, and she posted a story. This has been like a couple of years ago. She posted a story. I think her daughter was around like, I don't know, 6 to 8, somewhere in there. And she was like, our kids are finally getting old enough to watch some of the things we've been in. So we're starting with Gilmore Girls. And they were watching the pilot. And she said that when her daughter saw Jared come on screen, she was like, Mom, we're so lucky to know him. I just think that's the cutest story in the whole world. And I need more people to know it.
That's amazing.
And then, yeah, my second anecdotal story is husband's cousin's wife. His cousin, who's more like a sibling than a cousin. That's the side point. His wife went to Churchill in San Antonio, which is where Jared Padalecki also went to high school. And she just said, like, one, he was a working actor at the time, so he's flying back and forth to LA all the time. So he was like, kind of like too good for this town a little bit. But she said overall he was super, super nice, kind to everyone, super fun to hang out with. And I thought that was very sweet.
Well, that's me when I fly back. I'm just too good for the
like,
town.
Everyone you meet, you're like, hi, my name's Alyssa. I live in Hollywood.
I'm from LA. Just do the accent and everything.
Do the Southern California voice.
I'm not like that. I feel like we've made those jokes too much.
We should acknowledge that you are not an LA snob at all.
I feel like I want people to know I'm a very nice person.
She's a nice lady.
Exactly.
Name that movie.
Obviously.
Duh. Of course you knew that.
That reminds me of whenever I texted you when me and Jake, my boyfriend, for those of you who don't know, were watching The Hangover, and I was like, I need Ben to read the like Zach Galifianakis
the
script.
One man wolf pack.
The one, one man wolf pack. That is his job at our wedding. So then we cut to probably my least favorite. Like this scene just bugs me so much. I just don't like this scene.
I think go ahead. Sorry.
we're in the classroom, right? And all of the girls are painting one nail at a time. Why are they only painting one nail at a time?
Because they have to share one bottle of nail polish, Alyssa.
Why
Obviously.
can't one person just paint all of their nails? Give it to the next person. It's so confusing.
I have a separate issue with this scene.
Yeah.
What are they doing? People don't act like that.
Well, yeah.
Doing the assignment.
Yeah, so Rory is like doing the doing the assignment. They're like, what is she doing? They're like, it's the assignment. It's like, ew, she's doing school in school where we do
Disgusting.
school.
It's like
Where
she
we
doesn't
come
even
to
want to paint one nail at a time or something.
Like, if you don't want to paint one nail at a time, you can't sit with us.
You can't sit with us.
Name that movie.
Mean Girls, obviously.
Obviously.
What-
Is this
what-
a bit?
What? Yes, yesterday. Name that movie. Yesterday was Mean Girls Day. Come on.
Yeah, I think we just made a new bit. I'm pretty sure, like,
The name that
name
movie.
that
bit,
movie.
Obviously. It's gonna be real embarrassing when one of us doesn't know.
Yeah. Then when you can't do the obviously, that's when you know it's like, oh, you messed up.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Alyssa and I communicate to each other mostly through TV and movie quotes.
Yeah. Basically, well, like, only.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Right.
That's how we express emotion.
All right. So we're back in the hotel, and Lorelai hears a crash coming from the kitchen. And we meet Suki! All
And
of the
star is
characters.
born.
And a star is born, and that star is Suki. All the characters in that show are so lovable, but Suki is just such a warm, fuzzy person.
Oh, she's wonderful. I love Suki and I love Melissa McCarthy, and I know we already talked about this, but I truly don't think anyone else could have played that role. It wouldn't have been as successful, I don't think.
Yeah. So Lorelai sits on the floor with a pan covered Suki, and she tells her that she needs to be more careful. Suki says it's okay because she fixed the peach sauce. Lorelai tries the sauce, and it's great, obviously, because Suki's the best. However, I have so many questions about this particular batch of sauce. Why is she letting people lick the serving spoon and putting it back into the sauce? Like, I feel like a chef wouldn't do that.
Maybe maybe she made like a little batch of sauce for like people in the end to try, and then she's gonna
Practice
make
sauce?
a bigger, like a practice sauce, like a test run. I always
Very
have to do a
possible.
test run of baked goods because I always screw up the first batch.
Very possible. It's like the first pancake, which is actually in a later episode.
I was about to say that too. Me too.
Yeah. Well, it's when you live in Hollywood, you just really get good at it.
Okay,
I
yeah,
live
see, you
in
were making me
Hollywood.
feel bad. I was like, am I making too many Alyssa Lives in Hollywood jokes? No, you're doing it to yourself now.
Pretty funny. It's like that TikTok sound that, am I better than everyone?
Everyone? Also, I was surprised. I'm not surprised by much in Gilmore Girls. I guess I never paid enough attention, and sometimes, I'm gonna be honest, I skip the pilot. But
So
they
fair, me
mention
too.
opening an inn together in their first scene together.
Yeah. Which is another, like, it is another, like, oh, you don't, like, we're gonna open that in. You gotta be more careful.
Wink,
You
wink.
So people don't really do that. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
this is, I
I
guess
just
that's
didn't
been like
realize that.
yeah, from the get-go, it seems. So yeah, so she tells Suki that if they're going to open the inn, she needs to be more careful. And then we are back on the street of Stars Hollow, and Rory is now explaining the nail polish incident to Lane. Also, side note, I am Lane.
Right. Oh, 100%. Yes.
Like, she's like, loves the music, sneaking all the evil rock music, you know?
I will say, music-wise, we had less strict parents than Lane has. They let us listen to whatever we wanted. Our parents are musicians, both music majors, and so we could listen to whatever we wanted, but in other ways.
in other ways, for sure. So also the script, so they talk for a while. So the script ends their conversation with the line, "It has sparkles in it." So smelled like bubble gum when it dried, and there's no way Mark Twain can compete with that, was either improv or a note on the day.
All right.
Just so you know. And then they enter the antique shop that Lane's mom, Mrs. Kim, owns. And apparently her dad, too. I don't know.
Who knows? We may never know.
They walk through the maze of furniture to find Lane's mom. Rory says Lane's mom sounds disappointed that Rory is there, and she wonders why she hates her. And Lane reveals that she just doesn't trust unmarried women.
I love Mrs. Kim's disdain for Rory and Lorelai. I think it's very funny.
So funny. So we meet Mrs. Kim, who asks how school was and if any of the girls got pregnant or dropped out. Sorry,
Which is an excellent question to ask your daughter when she gets home from school.
Yeah, you're like, what, 15-year-old daughter?
Yeah.
She also tells...
I love the line, Joanna Posner was glowing a little.
Yeah, so good. She also tells Rory, boys don't like funny girls, which in itself is very funny.
Yes. Oh, the irony of that line.
Very funny scene where we see all Suki's cooks and waiters saving her from many, many accidents. Lorelai walks in and tells Suki that Rory was accepted to Chilton. They hug. Lorelai explains that she jokingly offered to do the principal to get her in. Rory comes in and says, "You're happy. Did you do something slutty?" To which Lorelai responds, "I'm not that happy."
Okay.
Yeah. Also very funny.
Very funny, but very like, this is not the relationship they have going forward. Going forward, like, with, men that Lorelai dates in the very near future, she's very adamant that she never talks about that part of her life. She never lets Rory see who she's dating. She never knows anything about her dating life. And here, like, I feel like those jokes aren't jokes you make when you, like, don't know anything about the other person's dating life.
Yeah, definitely not. Like I can imagine making, like, I don't know, just being like, "Oh, you're happy. Did you do something slutty?" Like, that's like, okay, about what.
I think the kicker is you didn't with the principal, did you? Like, she made that joke to Rory too, and Rory was worried that she actually did.
Yeah, so crazy. I agree. I think she was like a little bit more forward than maybe even like later. Like, there's an episode where she literally like is like awkward to talk to her about birth control. Like, she's like, "You're doing everything," and I'm like, "Oh, you guys like haven't talked about this before." You know what I mean?
Which is weird because isn't Rory in college for that conversation?
Yeah, she's literally in college. Like, I'm like, there's no way she's gotten this far and you haven't.
With how open Lorelai is about everything else, like, it would be so. That was just. I feel like that's another just product of TV in that time. It was all like parents were so like sex was off limits. You can't talk about it. Just don't do it. Like, I feel like that happened a lot on TV during that time.
How so many teen pregnancies happen. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah. I know that.
I didn't mean you. Well. Yeah, but we got your beautiful, beautiful Harper. So.
Yeah, it all worked out.
It all worked out. She is the Rory. So Lorelai gives Rory a gift of a blue plaid skirt, to which she responds, "I'm going to be in a Britney Spears video."
Very funny. Rory's very funny in this episode.
Oh, yeah. She goes downhill later seasons. But in this, I feel like Rory starts really high and then kind of like, and Lorelai starts like lower and kind of gets better.
I think that's accurate. Yeah.
So Rory is so excited that she got into Chilton. She says that she's going to call Lane, hugs Lorelai, and says she loves her, and then leaves the room. We're now...
Sorry, I wanted to point out I've watched this show roughly 1,000 times. And this watch through was the first time that I realized that Protestants love oatmeal is a Quaker joke. Quaker oatmeal. I was like, that's clever. I've seen it 1,000 times. I just that joke. So either I'm really dumb or the writing's really clever, or both.
I just think, like, with this show, like, the jokes happen so fast that it's like, you're not, like, you have to watch it a million times.
Well, and if you're not actively listening, like a lot of times when I have it on, it's on in the background while I'm doing other things. So I like come in and out. I'm not like actively like eyes on the screen focusing on what they're saying, you know?
Yeah, 100%. But so we're now back at the end where Michelle is ignoring the phone because people are particularly stupid today. To which
And I can't
Lorelai,
talk to any more of them.
says that the people at the unemployment agency are nice to talk to. Very funny line. I feel like in this episode,
I feel like a controversial opinion is coming.
yeah, when I started with like Lorelai would actually be kind of bad to work for.
She's very she's a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, if my boss behaved like Lorelai, I'd be like, "Can you just like would you just tell me what I need to do today? Like, can you just like
Like at least in this episode, like I feel like she gets better, but yeah, each episode because I'm remembering like when Michelle is like, "I'm gonna go home unless there's anything else, or unless you would like me to stay," and then she's like,
yes,
"Yes, it would be great if you could stay." I'm like, no, it sounds like it's time for Michelle to go home, and the
right."
joke is like that
Unless you
he's
have
like,
something specific for him to do.
yeah, and it's like the joke is like that Michelle is like, I'm going home and you don't have a choice, but I'm going to make it seem like you do. Like, that's the
Right.
joke,
Right.
But
Oh,
like,
yes.
but like for Lorelai to be like, yes, I'm not going to tell you that you have anything specific to do, but I still want you. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it just feels like it's unfair sometimes.
Yeah. She's not, I don't think she's the best boss. I guess she's doing okay, though. You know, she does pretty well for herself going forward. So.
That's fair. Yeah.
I also like how she pulls the letter opener out like a knife.
Yeah.
But I
Very
just
funny.
noticed that on this rewatch, too. I was like, oh, that's a
Very funny.
little visual joke.
Yeah. I will say, like, I'm not against, like, cracking jokes with your boss and having them pick on you and stuff.
Oh, yeah, not at all.
I should say that. That makes it fun. But, like, yeah, no. I don't know. Just little things. So, yeah, the "no, I'm sorry, we're completely booked" line in the background as we're, like, fading out of the scene, that was not in the script, which is really funny. So this cuts to a scene of Lorelai on the phone with the admissions people at Chilton. I am wondering how she got this far without knowing the enrollment fee.
Right. The only logical explanation I can come up with is maybe she thought she could, like, make payments, or, like, maybe she didn't realize she had to have it all up front.
Yeah. I just feel like, especially, like, this had to be, like, a process. Because they make it seem like, oh, you finally got in. Like,
in the middle of the school year.
Yeah, in the middle of the school year. Yeah, exactly. Like, how did you not know how much money you were going to have to pay them?
She says, wow, that's a lot of zeros behind that 5, like, implying that, like, she's just hearing the price of the tuition, like, just now.
Yeah.
Like,
So wild.
also, that makes me think tuition is, like, $50,000, because I feel like you wouldn't say that for $5,000, right? Like, there's a private preschool in town that a lot of people send their kids to that's $5,000 a year. That's not like and then that'd be too not enough for like a private prep school, and $500,000 is like Ivy League, more than Ivy League colleges. So it's got to be like 50 grand. Like, how did you? Yes, you're right. How did you not know that? How have we gotten this far without knowing that you needed $50,000? Also, that's got to be like close to what she makes a year. Like, she runs an inn in a small town. It's not like, she doesn't own the inn. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, it makes sense that, she doesn't have it, but it's also like, how did she not know?
Also, I love the line, no, a bank job is robbing a bank, because I can imagine the other end of the conversation where the lady's like, you applied to a bank?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. Like, humor like that, where it's like, you're like filling in the blanks, is very funny to me. So this cuts to a scene of Lorelai talking to Suki on the porch that I have not been to, but I've been to the one later. Suki suggests, sorry, go.
Yes, because the pilot was filmed in Vancouver.
Yeah. Suki suggests asking her parents in a sneaky way, and Lorelai basically says, absolutely not ever. The line, there are several scenes in a Stephen King novel I would reenact before doing that option, was actually not in the script.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I do like this scene. I like that this is really one of the only times that we see Lorelai and Suki just like hanging out, had a glass
Yeah.
of wine on the porch, chatting about their lives. Like I'm sure it happens like off-screen fiction world a lot, but we don't see it very often. It was fun
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, totally. Cause like before it almost makes it seem like they're just like, obviously they're like work friends, but like it seems like they're just like work besties. And then here you see that like, oh, their
Right.
relationship actually is like deeper than
Best
that.
friends.
Besties.
Also, I don't know where this comes in, but I literally have a note right after this scene that just says, "Low-rise jeans everywhere. Please, Gen Z, we're begging you, leave them in the past."
Like,
That's my note.
I feel like if I were to wear low-rise jeans now in my life, I would be so incredibly uncomfortable.
I wore super, super low-rise jeans when I was in high school, but I like they don't look good on anyone.
Right. Well, because it's like that's not where
It's
the
not where
like
the waist
small
is.
of your waist is.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, no, lots of low-rise jeans for sure.
Yeah, that's rough.
Susie goes out to get food stuff while Lorelai hems Rory's skirt. It would
Another
be
question. I'm
so,
sorry, I'm
yeah,
interrupting a lot.
that's
Where the fuck is Suki going to get duck in Stars Hollow late at night? They have one grocery store and it's the size of a gas station. They don't carry duck. Where are you going?
I believe Suki probably has duck from Costco.
You think she has a deep freeze full of duck?
A deep freeze full of duck. I mean, she's a chef. She probably has her
Yeah, it's possible.
weekly
Hey,
meat
maybe she's going
guy
to. She does cook a lot of fancy meals at the inn. Maybe she's gonna run and jack some duck from the
from the
Independence
inn.
Inn.
I
Yeah.
could see that. Yeah, totally.
Hey, all, it is late night editing Emily hopping in to let y'all know that we had a whole lot to say about the pilot episode of Gilmore Girls, so we are going to have to split it into 2 episodes. So if you are still with us, thank you so much for hanging in with us while we try to figure out how to podcast. And please tune in next week to hear the second half of this hot mess. And hopefully in a future upcoming episode, we will come up with a more interesting sign off. But for now, thank you for listening. Have a good week, and we hope you come back to see us next week. Bye.